Hey, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Tricia Friedman, and I wanted to record a special bonus episode because I had one of those things happen that was really ripe for learning. Very recently in the city of Ottawa, where I live, we had another one of those supposed to be once in a lifetime storms. And this meant my wife and I have experienced a flood in our basement. Now, we had another one of those once in a lifetime storms 2 years ago where our basement flooded then. And the thing is, what I was thinking about as a perpetual geek is the difference in terms of how quickly we could get organized, we could prepare, and how better supported we felt by AI this time around, just 2 years later. And I thought that I would walk you through exactly why that is. And I'm thinking about this because I've been noticing online, Wharton professor Dr. Ethan Malik has been talking a lot about this idea that part of the reason that most people don't understand or appreciate the potential of today's AI tools is that they're not bringing those tools significant enough problems. And this is something that at Shifting Schools, we're always advocating educators do. Take a step away from just the professional problems that you're trying to solve and think about an issue or a project that you're working on. Bring it to AI, see where it can make a difference, because I really think the potential for this technology is ultimately it's going to enable us to bring much bigger problems to be worked on in the classroom. So let me walk you through how I have been using the paid version of Claude Cowork and Claude Code to assist me in mitigating the damage from the flood. Now, anybody that's been through a basement flood or any kind of insurance claim, you know that when it comes to getting items reimbursed, the process is lengthy. Often your insurance policy is complicated. And so one of the first things that I did was I just started taking pictures of all of the items in the basement that were damaged that I'm sure the adjuster is going to say, yes, we need to replace those. That ended up being about 92 images. We put those into a Google Drive folder. I gave Claude Cowork access to that folder and I said, I want you to think like a CAA, that's our insurance provider. I want you to think like one of their adjusters. I want you to organize these items into a spreadsheet that would be useful for them in terms of keeping an inventory. I had it ask me a few questions. I gave it a version of our insurance policy so it knew the limitations there. And I also asked it to cross-check consumer rights as they apply to Ontario. I also then made sure that it was aware of the storm that caused this damage so that it would also be thinking about any citywide efforts or things that I didn't know about. The spreadsheet that it came up with, I was flabbergasted at how useful it was and how spot on it was, pulling different brands out of the images so that it could locate and it could give the cost. It went ahead and it did the search to find those products online. It provided the hyperlink to that item. This was a resource it put together that if I had just tried to do it on my own, it would have easily taken me probably 3 hours at least, if not longer. So that was step one. From there, inside of Claude Cowork, I created a project. And those of you who have not tried this yet or don't have access to Claude Cowork, a project is basically going to retain, it's going to have memory turned on so that I don't have to be giving it the insurance claim or the context over and over again. And I told it all of the context. I also gave it access to the inventory, and I asked it to come up with kind of a gamified approach, really to be like our project manager in looking at what we needed to fix next. I told it that I wanted it to be somewhat interactive, to be fun, because for those of you who have gone through any kind of home reno, you know that you could probably use a little bit of joy when it happens. Now, I made sure to have it learn a few skills. Now, again, if you're not familiar with Claude Cowork, one of the most impressive things is that you can prompt it to learn a skill. So a few skills that I wanted it to take on were really red teaming, if you will, to be thinking about what the insurance company is going to fight us on, where they might be trying to save themselves some money, and how we could counteract that. I also had it learn the skill of litigation within the province that we live, to be searching for any precedents, so that, again, I've got a really solid language that I can provide to the insurance company when we are doing any kind of correspondence. And the final skill that I had it set up actually was focused just on that, on how to be responding in email, on the kind of phrases and the tone that works, and just gets the timeline expedited a little bit. So my project has those three skills. It has the contextual information, and it put together really this great it's called the Basement Comeback Challenge. Those of you who are watching the YouTube version of the podcast, you can see what it came up with. And I found this helpful really at two different levels. Level one, this organizes everything, gives me some priorities. Whew, okay, that's a great stress relief. But two, it actually found a few opportunities that I wasn't even aware of. So there is a $1,000 city grant that I can apply for. It shows me exactly how to do that, where to go, gave me the deadline for doing that. It also let me know that the city is having a hazardous free waste disposal day. And again, there were a few other different details that it provided that these things were just not on my radar. And of course, listeners, I double checked those. They're accurate. These were not hallucinations. So it helped organize me. And then it also extended really the support that I have access to when solving this problem. So on top of that, anybody that's going through something like this, you know that just getting some of the day-to-day things done, it's a little bit harder, right? I'm going to have contractors, insurance people coming to the house. And so I also used Claude Cowork to schedule me a weekly review of, it's got access to the grocery stores that I go to. And also there is an Uber Eats Connect inside of Claude Cowork. So what it's going to do once a week is it's going to scan, and it's going to come up with what is maybe an opportunity for me to get some kind of very easy to prepare, or maybe it's a bulk meal via Uber Eats, so that I'm saving a little bit of time in cooking each week. Because for the next few weeks, I'm probably going to need as much support as I can get, right? So I found that to be really powerful. On top of, again, just having that scheduled for me, I also had a conversation. Dad, if you're watching, my dad he's a great father, and he is a regular listener of the show. We had a phone conversation. I was updating my parents on all things flood, and part of the conversation, naturally, of course, went to, I have finally, listeners, if you're a perpetually online person, you're like, Tricia, that you're late to the party. I finally tried this viral online tiramisu chia pudding that lots of people are having for breakfast. It's high in protein. It really keeps you feeling full in the morning. I want to have good breakfasts during this time. I tried it out. I loved it. My dad is a huge fan of tiramisu. I mentioned that to him, and he said, okay, great. I don't understand how to make it. And I thought, you know what, while I'm working on all of these other things, because within Claude Cowork and Claude Code, you can have multiple tasks going at the same time. I had Claude Cowork then put together a very easy to share. I've had it also themed out around my golden doodle Minnie, which my parents, they know her, they love her. So that while I'm working on this, I'm also able to send that tiramisu chia pudding breakfast recipe. It's got the nutritional guidance over to my parents. So again, I have to say, I think this is one of those examples of when I think back 2 years ago to all of the different tasks and the chaos and the stress that we felt going through the basement flood that time versus how differently I feel as a problem solver with this new tier of tools and technology. It's totally different. Now, I think this is one of those examples to talk about when it comes to AI literacy and making sure that we level the playing field. Do I think that every consumer, every citizen needs to know how to use this? I do. When I look at the insurance policy, again, it's very difficult to navigate all of that. Using this technology, it does amplify my ability, my capacity to get what I am entitled to and to feel much more empowered. Think about that for a little bit and think about some of the use cases that we're presenting to our students. I think it could make for a great interdisciplinary lesson. Of course, you've got the math of looking at all of the cutting of costs. There's also a great language lesson in there. When I look at the types of expressions, when I look at the emails that this creates and the way that it words it in a way that it is, of course, pointing to the law, pointing to the precedents, that is super interesting. Again, I hope this example floods you with ideas about how to use AI and gets you curious about if, oh my goodness, I don't even want to say it, but these things do come in threes. If in another year or two this happens again, what might the AI technology look like then? Okay, folks, if you want to hear more or you'd like to have me go through any updates in how I am using this technology or what's going on with my basement, as always, our email address is info@shiftingschools.com. See you again soon. Thanks again for listening, folks. Just a reminder, if you enjoy the conversations on this podcast and you are looking to learn a little bit more with Shifting Schools, you might want to check out our free Substack. AI Forward is the space that we are sharing news about AI that you probably aren't seeing in the headlines. This is also a space where we're sharing ready-to-roll strategies and resources for you to put into action immediately. You probably are hearing an awful lot about the idea of being human-centered in this new era of AI. Now, if you want to be thinking more about exactly what we want to mean, what we should mean, especially in education, about centering the human, AI Forward is a Substack that I think you will enjoy. You'll find the link to subscribe in the video description or in the podcast show notes of this episode. Thanks again. See you next week.